Of course, I forgot to put on my AirPod. Hello, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are. I hope that you'll join us. I'm just transitioning into wearing my AirPods. So, hello, everyone. Misha Saffron here. And this is, again, I think we're on number 55 of this podcast. I'm so excited to introduce to you today Obehi Ewanfoh. We'll be talking about the coexistence, joy, pain, and truth, and wherever that takes us. And I'm delighted to tell you all a little bit about Obehi. So, Obehi Ewanfoh lives in Verona, Italy, and writes books and creates online training classes for business tips and self-improvement. He came to Italy from Nigeria in 2004. So he's been in Italy since 2004. And for some years now, has been working on a research project about the presence of Africans in Northern Italy. I'm not an African, but I would love to be in Northern Italy. This is a project which was triggered out of his sheer curiosity of trying to understand and better connect with the people around him. That project, the journey in African migration to Northern Italy from 1976 till today's date, has now been transformed into an e-learning platform, aclasses.org, where people can learn how to improve themselves and their businesses. Also from that project, he has recently created a podcast, Obehi Podcast, which you can find on YouTube, but I will add the link to this post later, which is centered around the idea that everyone has a story to share. In the podcast, they interview people from different industries in order to learn from their professional and personal experiences. These are the means for Obehi to make a contribution and serve the people. And he is so happy for the opportunity to do so. And you will see, as soon as I introduce his smile and his face, you'll be like, oh, he's the right person to talk with people about the stories they have to share. Obehi, welcome.
Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon from wherever we are joining. I'm really so honored here, Michelle. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so
Oh,
much
it's a
for
delight
inviting
to
me.
see you again. Obehi, for all that don't know, was willing to interview me in his realm. We've been sharing stages together because we both have beautiful things to offer, and it's just a pleasure to see you again. So I'm glad
Thank,
you're here, and thank you
thank you
for
so
honoring
much.
all of us.
Thank you so much. I'm,
Absolutely.
I'm really honored.
So I'd love to know, we'll talk more specifically about your project and what you do, but I know that we agreed together today to talk about this notion of pain and joy. And I don't know if you are interested and willing to share. This is not something I actually had talked to you about previously. So just throwing you off the curve here. What was it that brought you to Italy in the first place to
Hmm.
leave Africa? And are there any pains and joys that kind of coexisted as a result of that big shift in your life? Because that's a big change.
Absolutely, it's a big change. Well, in the initial, actually, I started to right from when I was in secondary school. I started to think about these people that are called European who had a huge impact on Africa and on us. So I had the mind that I was going to go to Europe at one time, maybe to come and study or do some things. But it happened that at a certain point, my brother was living here. So I said, okay, this is an opportunity to join him. And so I came here without possibility. So since then, I really have been here and I've been learning a lot of things. Basically, not only about the European this time, but also about myself. Like you rightly said, are there pain? Of course, there are pain. When you leave your country of origin, your state of origin, where you have your friends, where you have your cycle, where you have basically your life, your setup, into a territory that is completely new to you, where you have to basically relearn everything from what you are even called to how to talk to people as if you were a baby. Actually, that is how the story of immigration goes. Of course, this one can be paid even in themselves, no. And also with the this one can combine to the fact that sometimes for most Africans here, in me included, maybe you fall into illegality because maybe you came with a visa. Because me, I didn't just come with everything already set. I came with a visa which expired, then I fall into illegality, as it will be called invisibility, because you don't have paper. It becomes difficult for you to get a job, and it becomes basically difficult for you to do anything. The only thing that is open to you is to do illegal thing. But then you have to be strong to remain focused to what you really want to do in life. Yes, it'll be painful, but I want to really say that what has been helping me have been my writing, because ever since then, I remember when I was leaving Nigeria, two things that I had, actually, there were three things that I had very precious inside my luggage. And one of them was Bible, because then I was very, my faith was very strong in the church. Okay, something that I've changed over the years. Then also, I had a book that I was writing. I had just published one. Then I was having another one that I was writing at the time. That book actually will sustain my life for very many years until date. Actually, I have finished the book, but I have not published it. It's right in my computer. I've even had it translated into Italian. So this has been helping me to metabolize the pain, because it's really painful, the journey of getting to transform yourself, transform your life, your story, your journey. But this book that I've been writing have been helping me in a way. The other thing that was inside that luggage, apart from the Bible and the book I was writing, was the dictionary. I said I was going to need this one to continue to write, because I knew that wherever I go, I will continue to write, because I just fell in love with writing when I left Nigeria. And of course, till date, I still write. So yes, it is painful. But if I can just add anything there while we are still at that moment, uh, if you are leaving your comfort to another comfort, to another place where you don't have comfort here, where you don't know what you are going to meet, because sometimes we don't know what is in front of us, but we have to face it. We have to face it anyway. You need to find something where you can hide, like the tortoise. You know? So it can be, I don't know, your singing, your writing, your dancing, something that is in you that only you can control. And it'll be helpful for me. So I believe it will be helpful also to other persons out there that are listening to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you said was really, for me, what I heard was really important, is that, you're leaving one area which is comfortable for something that is unknown. We don't know if it's going to be comfortable or uncomfortable. And just that alone is uncomfortable for some people. Some people have a real hard time with those transitions. And so you're leaving, in your heart, this is somewhere to go, but you're leaving behind your familiarity, your perhaps family, friends, and something you've just been accustomed to for a certain amount of time. Do you find that you're someone for whom joy has come easily, like thinking towards the positive, or do you tend to see things more like on the negative and then have to push yourself to the positive?
To this, I would just say is something that I've been intentional about it, to be positive, and I've really been intentional about it. It's like if you, I remember on occasion I've had to talk with some people, even so some Italian. They ask, "Where are you?" I say, "I live in the northern part of Italy. I live in Verona." And they say, "Verona, are the people not racist there?" As if maybe everybody is racist in the city where I am, which of course there are some people that are actually racist, though. But that doesn't mean that every person in the city I live is racist, no? Right. It's just to tell you that, of course, there are bad things that happens to me. There are also good things that happen to me. But this is how I do it. When I want to make a diary of my life, how I want to narrate my story, I try to filter it in a way that I put more of positive and less of negativity. So it has been intentional for me, and it has been very helpful to me. I remember one time at this point, because it's not going to be possible to narrate the entire journey that I've gone through here in Italy, but the initial it had been really very difficult for me. So I came in 2004. So up until 2009, I hadn't had the possibility of asking for resident permit in Italy. So if you imagine what that means, that is really very challenging, very difficult. So all through this period, I was writing my book. All through this period, I was really trying to encourage myself, but it was really challenging, as you can imagine. I don't know if you have ever been to a place that is not your country. You don't know anybody there. Know very few people there. It is really challenging, you see. But I've created this antidote for myself to be happy. So one time, A young girl asked me, this was what an Italian, because we were in a group talking, that she was asking me, how come Peter, okay, because I would also call Peter, no? So, Peter, what, come mai ridi sempre, no? That is in Italian, meaning in English, meaning, why are you always smiling? I said, well, this is for me, I choose not to. The alternative to this is that I will be sad, and I don't like to be
Mhm.
sad. So it's just a choice that I've intentionally taken to be positive.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. I have the same intentions. And I think that, I when I was a teacher, we would talk about, students, I would ask a question and students would raise their hand. And I said, look, remember, you always have a choice. You can be a volunteer and raise your hand and work through the experience, or you can be a victim and I can pick on you and you can be upset. But it's the same thing in real life. Yes, there are circumstances that come into our lives. Like, for example, I'm sure, knowing you to the small extent that I do, it's not in your nature to walk into the world and try to do illegal things. But you had an
Absolutely no.
ambition, you
Mhm.
had a desire, and it probably went against who you are to be in a country illegally and feel like you were breaking the laws, breaking the rules. And yet you chose it because it was for your best interest, so that you could seek joy and be in intentional happiness. And you had to go through a period of time where you were against your own grain of what felt right. But your ultimate goal, and here we are today in 2021, a happy man with children and a family and a career, being able to share your journey with intentionality of being in the positive. That's what I see.
Yeah, and it really have been that. Of course, I made mention of those difficult challenges because this we're talking of the pain. To tell you that to have be invisible for a very long time, that is really challenging. It sort of tend to push you towards the wrong side, but you really need to be strong to be able to remain on your own, and you need to develop this anti. Do you call it antibody? The antidote to sort of help you,
Antidote.
a kind of a solution for you. And in this sense, for me, throughout this period, what have really helped me and kept me out of the regular story is have been this. So yes, the pain has been there and the challenges have been there. So that's why I was saying before, even though the question wasn't really about what are solutions or what are the recommendation, that I was just trying to throw it out there that um, we really need to find that thing in us that we can tap into, because life is not easy. If you have been living for a considerable amount of years, you must know that life is not easy. But you're not going to concentrate only on the negative side now, because you are
Right,
going to be frantic all the time. Because there are a lot of things that
right.
are wrong in this world, but there are also a lot of things that are good in this world. So
Mhm,
we have a choice. I believe you. We do have a
mhm,
choice. Yes.
mhm. It's interesting. My grandfather was illegal in the United States. He came over here many, many moons ago, and had to have a different name, different passport, because he was leaving a country where there was tremendous violence. And when he got here, he was literally illegal his whole entire time here. He married an American woman, quote unquote American, right? Because we're all immigrants from one
Which
point,
is your mother?
right? And my grandmother, my
Okay,
grandmother.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And, it wasn't until my father was resisting the war that he discovered that his own father was an illegal alien, is what the words they used at the time. And to have lived through, I mean, both my grandmother and my father were very supportive of my dad in his resistance to going to war, but they had to tell him their fears, which was that they may come and get your dad. They may come and get us all because your dad is illegal. And yet my grandfather was such a sweet, sweet spirited soul that contributed so much to our lives and to the lives of people around him, musically, intellectually, poetically, just a beautiful human. And so he was meant to be in this country. And yet he also had to feel that invisibility that you're talking about for a very long time. And then they got this activist son. They created this activist son that had words to speak out against the government. And it was at a time where my grandmother was a communist. And so there was a lot of trepidation. She ended up resigning from her school district to keep grandfather invisible because they were so afraid. And I heard your period of time to be about 4 or 5 years before you got to be, I think, did I understand that, before you got to have legal status?
Yeah, before I could apply, actually, because I could have the possibility of application. And of course, it took a long time, but finally everything was resolved.
Yeah. And what got you through that, and what got my grandparents through their process, was that intentionality of choosing to make the best of what your world was at the time and is today.
Absolutely.
Am I correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because you see, we cannot, there is no template for life. Everything is not under your control, no? That is why it is very important that you look for a way to have that small part of you. No, you don't need to control other people. Just try to control yourself. That is enough.
Yeah, really. Actually, in fact, it's impossible to control other people. So don't even try. Just control yourself.
If you can manage to control just, if you can manage to control just a part of you that you know you are confident in, I don't know, it can be speaking, it can be writing, it can be anything, but you know that this is something that, of course, this something become a way of so for you to serve other people, because we are here to serve other people too, no? So because you have developed this ability, it helps you, it make you happy. And when you are doing it to reach out to other people, it becomes easy for you. Why it might be difficult for other persons. Today, I was having an interview. I was having a very long conversation with a friend of mine in Swiss. So we were talking about life in general, no? So I was saying it is very difficult to just say somebody is good or bad, because the human being is very complex. There is a lot of things that make us our reality. You have a bit of your friendship, you have your profession, you have sometimes where you are good, sometimes where you are bad. So when you just calculate all this one and just say somebody is good or bad, well, I don't know, because we are going to need time now to explain to what extent is that person really good? What's it really good at? What is it bad at? So in that, I'm trying to say that things will always happen to you. That is not what matters. Sometimes you might not have anything. That is not what matters. What are you going to do about it? What are you doing about that opportunity? Because I think one artist was saying in US, I forgot his name now, or the name I've forgotten. He said, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. So don't stay and start crying. Do something about it. You can do something about it. So I think that is really very important, because we can take out books that are written by people that have passed through a lot of stress, more stress than we have gone through, so that we don't have any reason to sit down and start crying. Do something about your life. It is possible that wherever you are, you can start there and you can really do something. It is possible. And for that, before you have done it, then you can also do it. You just need to look not there, but there, inside of you.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody do this. Everybody who's watching, do this. Okay, point at yourself right here. This is what you can do, and this is where you can start.
Yeah, because even when you are talking of the pain, the torture that we do go in life. Okay, of course, I'm talking now from the point of view of an immigrant who came to Italy, who came to Europe. But it doesn't mean that if I never came to Europe, I will not suffer too. I think, like Jordan Peterson will say, life is basically suffering. All what you have to do is to make sense out of it. You are the one that will make the sense out of it. What does it mean to you, what you are going through? It doesn't mean because I am the one that walked several kilometers from Nigeria to Italy, meaning the people that I met in this country are not suffering. They are also suffering. Of course, they are suffering from different things that are worse at the time and even now at the moment, because all of us, we cannot just get everything we want. If that was how life was set up, life would be very boring.
Very boring.
Yeah.
Very boring. And some people would say because of their suffering, they would rather it be boring. And that may be true, right? And at the same time, our suffering, for me, and maybe you disagree or maybe you agree, I'd be curious to know. For me, while I haven't enjoyed my suffering and I've had my share, it's taught me how to really appreciate what's joyful, what's wonderful. And if I only have what's wonderful, how would I really know that that's wonderful? So it offers a comparison, and I get to learn from these challenges and these pains and these trials and tribulations and kind of go, oh, I really like it over here. But I'm willing to let them merge so that I can really appreciate all of it.
Yeah. It's part of it. Everything is part of the same journey that we are journeying together. Because you know, it's not like the when you are going through a torturing moment, you should be celebrating it. That is not really what it is. I don't think
Woohoo! I'm tortured right now. No.
no, that is not what it is. You know, okay, you see, I did a research that took a lot of time to sort of understand what is going on in the life of the people here in northern Italy. It's like you made mention of in the intro. So in this research, it gave me time to be able to talk to a lot of people, and I hear their story, and those story are the story of life, not the story of statistics, not the story of some alien coming in. They are story of life. People who are trying to make meaning out of their life.
Mhm.
And what I've come to learn there is that whatever is happening to you, it is important that you learn the code to be able to decode your situation. It is challenging, I know.
Mhm.
Even when you have this code, it's still going to be challenging anyway. But there is a difference between just suffering like you are in a smoke. You are just like running here and there without really having a focus, not knowing where you are going. You are still suffering anyway, and suffering, but try to able to make meaning, make sense out of it. I think one book I will make reference to in this instance will be the book by Viktor F. Frankl, A Man's Search for Meaning. You see, this is a guy that went through a very torture. What can be more torturing than the Holocaust?
Mhm.
All
Mhm.
right. So life was basically nude to him. Life was naked. You see, but there is a difference between him, not just to the people that died, even to the people that also survived. Because through that suffering, it becomes like, you know, when you pick out the pure gold, they are dust of the earth. They are not beautiful. The same is true for diamond. You are
Mhm.
going to have to refine it.
Mhm.
And the refining process is not a beautiful process. You are going to have to burn out the part, the sharks that are not part of the beauty.
Mhm.
And I think that is also what happens to us, whether you are an immigrant or not, whether you are born in your country or not. And like I said, if life was you were born, you have everything, you grow up, have everything, you die, have everything, I don't know what kind of life you are going to live. Because
Mhm.
what make your teeth strong is because it crack bone. You are going to add, okay, it might literally not be bone, but you're going to crack something strong. Otherwise, it's not going to be strong. So life also is like that. Those
Mhm.
suffering, those moments, those challenges that we go
Mhm.
through, they make us who we are. That is why it is not the challenge, because those challenges are there for everybody. Some
Right.
persons come and look at it and say, well, no, there is an obstacle here. And you can't see there is an obstacle here. I cannot go through because there is an obstacle. That
Mhm.
one will stay. It will not move beyond that. And that is where his life ends because he starts dying from that moment. Some other persons will say, okay, there is an obstacle here. But what is after this obstacle? So they jump and they fall sometimes. Maybe they break their leg, but they go through it and they
Mhm.
learn. And what happened? Maybe if they get another obstacle that look exactly like that, they are not able to pass it easily. So the life, like the master teacher, is now beginning to teach you, is now nurturing you, is now mentoring you, is now building you, is now constructing you until you grow old. And when you talk, people listen because you are talking from an experience.
Mhm.
Now, the other day in my podcast, I was talking to an experienced woman here in Italy. I was interviewing her. She's an anthropologist. So I just asked her the first question, and we were already like, we are going to spend all the time there because it was so beautiful. Now, I told her something that I'm going to tell you also. That the reason that in African culture, for example, we look at elderly people as if they were treasures. When they talk, it's so everybody listen because they talk most of the cases in verses. They make
Mhm.
parable, and the kind of advice they give you are so rich. Now, it's not because they have gray hair. That is not the point. It's not because they are male or female. That is not the point. The point is that they have lived. And
Yes.
for you to have lived, you need to gather experience. That makes you who you are, not just the years, not just the number of time that you spend growing up. But what do you make out of that time?
Right.
So life is
Absolutely.
beautiful. Yeah, yeah, please go.
Yeah, no, I think it's beautiful. And I was going to ask you to give some words of wisdom to people who feel stuck in that perpetual, cycle of pain. And I think you just gave it, which is that you ask, what's the next thing?
Mm,
Rather than sitting right here, it's like asking, what's the next thing for me?
mm,
And so I just I guess I would ask maybe, in your experience and your wisdom, if somebody's kind of trying to walk through or trying to avoid maybe even big emotions, and I know we're finishing up here, do you have like a tip or a suggestion on how a person can walk through as opposed to avoid, negate, bounce away from? Because like you just said, it's all a part of who we are. And when
mm.
we avoid or negate a part of who we are, we're sitting in the pain.
Yeah, and apart from sitting in the pain, you will never grow up to.
Yeah.
Because if, like we were just saying before, the pain, like that burning flame that you need to put the gold onto, the gold dust onto, to refine it so that it can become pure gold, because it was just dust. It
Yeah.
was the dust like every other dust of the earth. But you pass it through a process to become refined. That is the human being. If you don't go through those torture, those obstacles, those falling and rising, you can never mature. How can you mature? You are just a baby, a big baby in this time, because you are big, you are grown, but you are still a baby because
Yeah.
you haven't learned the lessons of life.
Mhm.
And but if you pass through this process of course, it's not that you need to now go and jump into a movie train so that you will learn. That is not what it means.
Right.
You just need to take life and embrace it. So those little things that are known beautiful to you, try to make sense out of it. Don't run away from it, because you cannot. If you are, but for how long can you even run away? Because I think um, who was saying it? I forgot his name now. I'm not very good at remembering name. He said,
Oh, me
"You can't,
neither.
you can't make it. You can't make it out of this life alive." And it
Yes,
is true. That
absolutely. Yeah, nobody
and
gets out of this life alive.
echo. So that is the truth. So
Eckhart Tolle.
take
Yeah.
it, take it. This is your life. This is the only
Right.
time you have to live. So take it. The
Yeah.
challenges are there. Take it. Don't be afraid. Don't
Well, and I
be
love what you
afraid.
said about the gold and the diamond, and I wanna bring out another quote. Diamonds have to go through tremendous amount of pressure to become what they are.
Yeah.
Tremendous,
Yeah.
right? Thank you. Thank you for those words. It's
Thank-
such a wonderful thing to have you. So I really want to I'm going to show people your website. Tell us what you do specifically and why people might want to come to you for more information or even to work with you.
Thank you very, very much, Michelle, for the opportunity. What we do in our website, aclasses.org, we create online training classes for people who want to improve themselves and also their businesses, because we create these tips that will help them to improve what they are doing. In fact, that our approach, you see, is written A classes media for business and self improvement. We believe that it's not just about getting money, but it's also about building yourself, making meaning out of your life.
Mm.
So it's not just about being rich, but also be rich inside. That is very important for us. Then, of course, in my podcast, I believe that everyone has a story. So we concentrate on that, try to talk to different people, try to listen to their story. Because in their story, we are learning and we are talking to different people from different walks of life. And it's really very beautiful. In fact, it's the best thing that have happened to me to be able to serve. And I do this through what I've gone through in my life.
Thank you. I love that. And you are multilingual. So people who speak English could come to you for that support. People who speak Italian could come to you for that support. And what are the other languages you speak?
Well, the other language will be Esan, which is the language that we speak in Edo, in part of Edo State, Nigeria.
Okay.
But there might be a few people that speak that.
Uh-huh. What's the name of it again? Which language?
The name is Esan. Esan. Yeah.
Okay, Esan. Okay,
Yeah,
so that's 3 languages already that people can access your services. Wow, you get to have like a third of the world.
Thank you. Thank you so
No,
much.
that's beautiful. Well, I hope everybody has had an opportunity to really enjoy the wisdom here. And if anything has resonated with you from what Obehi and I have discussed, please feel free to type that in the comments, whether you're on YouTube or in Facebook. And I think that, and if you're watching the replay, please make sure you put #replay so I get an idea of who sees it afterwards. But I will speak for myself, and I think I speak for the collective, but really a pleasure to see you again, and so grateful for what you do in the world and your stories that you're cultivating from other people. And just a delight to be with you, Obehi.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure on my part. I really appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye, everyone. It's been an honor here. Thank you so much. Thank you.